I still remember the fluorescent lights buzzing in Mrs. Patterson's classroom that Tuesday afternoon. I was 14 years old, sitting in the back row of ninth grade English. My essay on my future dreams lay on my desk, covered in red marks like it was bleeding. Mrs. Patterson stood at the front, her arms crossed, looking at me with that expression I'd come to know too well. Disappointment mixed with something else, almost like disgust. "Tyler Martinez," she said loudly, making sure everyone heard. "Stay after class." My stomach twisted. The other students exchanged glances, some smirking. They knew what was coming. I'd been struggling in her class all semester, and she never missed a chance to remind me. When the bell rang, everyone filed out quickly, grateful to escape. I stayed in my seat, staring at my essay about wanting to start my own business someday. It was full of passion but terrible grammar and spelling mistakes. Mrs. Patterson walked to my desk, dropping my essay in front of me. "Tyler, we need to have a serious conversation about your future." I nodded, preparing for another lecture about my poor performance. But what came next was worse than any lecture I'd ever received. Mrs. Patterson pulled up a chair and sat across from me, her face serious. "Tyler, I'm going to be honest with you. I've been teaching for 20 years, and I can spot potential. You don't have it." The words hit like a punch. I opened my mouth to respond, but she continued. "Your writing is below grade level. Your reading comprehension is weak. Your participation is minimal. But more than that, you lack the discipline and intelligence required for real success." She tapped my essay. "These dreams of starting a business? They're fantasies. People like you don't become entrepreneurs. You don't have what it takes. People like me." I knew what she meant. I was from the poor side of town, wore the same clothes multiple days, sometimes came to school hungry. My mom worked 2 jobs as a cleaner. My dad had left when I was 6. We barely survived month to month. "I'm telling you this," Mrs. Patterson continued, "because someone needs to. It's better you understand your limitations now rather than waste time on impossible dreams. Focus on realistic goals. Trade school, maybe. Something practical." I sat there frozen, her words crushing something inside me. She stood up, straightening her skirt. "You're dismissed." I grabbed my backpack and walked out, my essay crumpled in my fist. That day, something changed. I didn't tell Mom about what Mrs. Patterson said. She had enough worries, rent was due, the car needed fixing, my younger sister Maria needed new shoes. But that night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying those words. "You don't have what it takes." Part of me wanted to believe her. School was hard. I struggled with reading because I had undiagnosed dyslexia. Writing took me twice as long as other students. Tests were torture because letters seemed to dance on the page. But another part of me burned with anger. Who was she to decide my future? She'd never asked why I struggled. Never offered help. Just judged and dismissed me. I pulled out my crumpled essay and smoothed it on my bed. Despite the red marks, I could see my ideas underneath. I wanted to create something, a business that helped people like Mom find better jobs. The writing was messy, but the dream was real. That night, I made a decision. I would prove Mrs. Patterson wrong. Not because I needed her approval, but because I needed to prove it to myself. The next day at school, I went to the library during lunch. Mrs. Chen, the librarian, was kind to everyone regardless of grades. "What can I help you with, Tyler?" "I want to learn about starting businesses," I said quietly. Mrs. Chen didn't judge. She helped me find books about entrepreneurs who'd overcome obstacles. I discovered that Richard Branson had dyslexia. So did Charles Schwab and many other successful business owners. "Struggling in school doesn't mean you'll struggle in life," Mrs. Chen said, noticing which books I'd chosen. Some of the most successful people were terrible students. Her words were the first encouragement I'd received in months. I checked out 4 books and started reading, even though it took me forever. I used my finger to track lines, read passages multiple times, took notes in my own shorthand. In Mrs. Patterson's class, I stopped trying to impress her. She'd already decided I was hopeless, so why bother? I did the minimum to pass and saved my energy for learning things that actually mattered to me. One day, she handed back another essay. Another D. As she passed my desk, she whispered, "Still wasting time on those business dreams, Tyler?" I looked up at her and said calmly, "Yes, ma'am. I am." She shook her head and moved on. But something in my response bothered her. I wasn't defensive or upset. I was determined. And determination is harder to crush than hope. After school, I started working at Mr. Garcia's corner store. Minimum wage, stocking shelves, and running the register. But I watched everything: how he managed inventory, dealt with suppliers, handled difficult customers. Mr. Garcia noticed my attention. "You ask a lot of questions, Tyler. Most kids just want their paycheck and leave. I want to learn how businesses work, sir. I want to start my own someday." He studied me for a moment, then smiled. "Then pay attention. I'll teach you." Over the next months, Mr. Garcia became my real teacher. He showed me his books, explained profit margins, taught me about customer service and inventory management. He'd immigrated from Mexico with nothing and built this successful store through hard work and smart decisions. School smarts and business smarts are different, he told me one evening while we counted the register. School rewards people who memorize and follow rules. Business rewards people who solve problems and take smart risks. His words stuck with me. I wasn't stupid, I was just being judged by the wrong measuring stick. At school, I started a small side hustle. I noticed students needed help with things teachers didn't handle: finding used textbooks, organizing group projects, tutoring in subjects I actually understood like math. I charged small fees and kept careful records. By the end of 9th grade, I'd saved $800. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Earned through work, not allowance. It proved I could create value and get paid for it. Mrs. Patterson barely passed me with a D-. On the last day, she said, "Good luck, Tyler. You'll need it." High school continued with ups and downs. My grades were mediocre except in math and business classes, where I excelled. Teachers had mixed opinions about me: some saw potential, others saw a struggling student unlikely to finish college. But I kept working at Mr. Garcia's store and growing my side business. By 11th grade, I was making decent money helping students with various services. I even hired 2 classmates to help, paying them fairly and teaching them what Mr. Garcia taught me. "You're running a little business," my friend Jake said, impressed. "That's actually cool." It was cool. More importantly, it was working. I learned about marketing by posting flyers. I learned about customer service by handling complaints. I learned about scaling by hiring help. Real-world education that no classroom provided. Mom noticed the change in me. "You seem more confident, Mijo. What's different?" "I know what I want now, Mom. And I know I can get it." She hugged me tight. She'd always believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. Senior year arrived with college decisions looming. My guidance counselor, Mr. Thompson, called me into his office. "Tyler, your grades aren't strong enough for traditional 4-year universities. Have you considered community college or trade school?" Everyone kept pushing me toward realistic options. But I'd saved $3,000 by then. I had a plan. Instead of applying to universities, I researched business programs at community college. I could take classes part-time, keep working, and avoid massive student debt. It wasn't the prestigious path, but it was smart. Graduation day came. I walked across the stage to collect my diploma, my family cheering loudly. Mrs. Patterson sat with the other teachers, barely glancing my way. I was just another mediocre student leaving her life forever. But I wasn't. I was a kid with a plan, hustle, and determination she'd never recognized. That summer, I started community college while working full-time for Mr. Garcia. He promoted me to assistant manager, which meant more money and more responsibility. I enrolled in business courses and discovered something amazing. When I was learning things I cared about, school wasn't torture. My business law professor, Dr. Richardson, was impressed with my practical experience. Most students have theory but no application. You have application. That's valuable. He became a mentor, helping me understand legal structures and business formation. By my second semester, I was ready to make my side business official. I registered it as Martinez Solutions LLC, a consulting service for students and small businesses. At 19, I was officially an entrepreneur. Small scale, but real. I had business cards, a simple website Jake helped me build, and steady clients. Community college taught me crucial skills. Accounting, marketing, management, economics, all practical knowledge I used immediately in my business. My GPA was 3.8 because I actually cared about what I was learning. Martinez Solutions grew. I expanded beyond student services to helping small businesses with social media marketing, website design, and basic consulting. I was learning these skills in class and applying them for paying clients the same week. By my second year, I was making more money than some college graduates. Not rich, but comfortable. I helped mom with bills, saved aggressively, and reinvested profits into the business. Mr. Garcia pulled me aside one day. "Tyler, you've outgrown this store. You should focus on your business full-time." "But I owe you everything, sir. You taught me." He smiled. "And now I'm teaching you one more lesson. Know when to take the leap. You're ready." Leaving that job was hard. Mr. Garcia had believed in me when few others did. But he was right, I needed to commit fully to Martinez Solutions. At 20, I went all in. No safety net, no backup plan. Just my business and my determination. Friends thought I was crazy. "You should finish your degree first," they said. But I'd learned something important: there's no perfect time. You just have to start. The first year full-time was terrifying and exhilarating. Some months were great. Others, I barely covered expenses. But I kept pushing, learning, adapting. I hired my first full-time employee, Jake, who'd been helping part-time. Then Maria, my younger sister, joined after finishing high school. She was brilliant with design and brought creative energy I lacked. "We're an actual company now," Jake said, looking at our small office, really just a rented room above a coffee shop. He was right. 3 employees, steady clients, growing reputation. We were becoming real. Social media was exploding then, and many small businesses didn't understand it. I specialized in helping them build online presence. My prices were reasonable, my results were solid, and word spread. A local restaurant owner, Mrs. Kim, became a major client. I rebuilt her website and managed her social media. Within 3 months, her business increased by 40%. "You're a genius," she told me. I wasn't a genius. I was just someone who worked hard and paid attention. But her referrals brought more clients, other restaurants, retail stores, service providers. Martinez Solutions became known as the go-to digital marketing firm for small businesses in our area. By 22, we'd moved to a proper office. I had 5 employees. Revenue was approaching $200,000 annually. Not Silicon Valley numbers, but solid growth. Success brought challenges I hadn't anticipated. Managing employees, handling client expectations, dealing with cash flow, maintaining quality as we scaled. I made mistakes, hired wrong people, took on bad clients, overextended ourselves. But each mistake taught valuable lessons. Dr. Richardson, my former professor, helped me navigate legal issues. Mom's practical wisdom guided personnel decisions. Mr. Garcia's lessons about customer service kept us grounded. I also went back to finish my associate degree, taking night classes. Not because I needed the credential, but because I wanted to finish what I'd started. When I graduated, Mom cried. I was the first in our family to earn any college degree. I'm so proud of you, Mijo, she whispered. That degree meant more than any business success. It proved I could finish things despite obstacles. Around this time, I started speaking at local business events, sharing my story and lessons learned. The response surprised me. People were inspired by the journey from struggling student to successful entrepreneur. You're proof that school doesn't define you, one audience member said. My son struggles in school, but he's creative and ambitious. Your story gives him hope. Those moments reminded me why the struggle mattered. Not just for me, but for others who felt dismissed by traditional education. A local news station did a feature on Martinez Solutions. Young entrepreneur builds successful business despite academic struggles, read the headline. The news feature changed everything. My phone exploded with inquiries, new clients, speaking requests, interview opportunities. Suddenly, I had more business than we could handle. I hired more employees, including an operations manager named Sarah who'd worked at a Fortune 500 company. She brought structure and systems we desperately needed. You're talented but chaotic, she said kindly. Let me organize the chaos. She did. Within 6 months, we doubled revenue to $400,000 annually. We moved to a larger office. I could finally pay myself a real salary. At 24, I bought Mom a house. Not a mansion, just a comfortable 3-bedroom in a safe neighborhood. When I handed her the keys, she collapsed into my arms sobbing. You did this, Tyler. You did this. We did this, Mom. You believed in me when no one else did. Maria filmed the moment on her phone. Later, she posted it on our company's social media. It went viral locally, 12,000 views, hundreds of comments. People loved the story. That video brought even more business. Apparently, clients wanted to work with someone who valued family and appreciated their roots. Our About Us page featuring our story became our best marketing tool. By year 5, Martinez Solutions had 15 employees and was approaching $1 million in annual revenue. Hitting 7 figures felt surreal. I was 25 years old, running a $1 million company, employing 15 people. The struggling student who'd been told he'd never succeed was now featured in business magazines. But success brought scrutiny. Competitors emerged, trying to copy our model. Larger agencies tried poaching our clients with lower prices. The market became more competitive. I had to adapt. We specialized further, focusing specifically on restaurant and hospitality digital marketing. We became experts in that niche, charging premium prices for exceptional results. The strategy worked. Revenue climbed to $1.5 million, then $2 million. We won industry awards. I was invited to speak at national conferences. At 27, I was considered a rising star in digital marketing. One day, Jake burst into my office. Dude, you'll never believe who just reached out. Who? Mrs. Patterson. Your old English teacher. My blood went cold. Mrs. Patterson. The woman who'd told me I'd never succeed, who'd called my dreams fantasies, who'd crushed my confidence when I was most vulnerable. What does she want? I asked carefully. Jake pulled up an email on his phone. She wants a job. Says she's seen your success and would love to contribute to Martinez Solutions. She's leaving teaching and wants to transition into corporate training. I sat back, processing. Mrs. Patterson wanted to work for me. The irony was almost too perfect. I read her email carefully. It was professionally written, highlighting her teaching experience and how it could translate to employee training and development. She mentioned seeing articles about Martinez Solutions and being impressed by the company culture and growth. She didn't mention me specifically. Didn't acknowledge our history. Maybe she didn't even remember the struggling student she dismissed 13 years ago. Jake waited for my response. What are you going to do? I thought carefully. Part of me wanted to write back a scathing rejection, Throw her words back at her. Remember when you said I'd never succeed? Guess you were wrong. But that felt petty. And Mom had taught me better. Don't become bitter, Mijo. It poisons you more than them. Schedule an interview, I said finally. Professional, standard process. Same as any other candidate. Jake raised his eyebrows. You sure? Yeah. I'm curious. And who knows, maybe she's actually qualified. The interview was scheduled for the following Tuesday at 2 o'clock. I didn't tell her I'd be conducting it personally. Sarah typically handled first interviews, but I wanted to do this one myself. Tuesday came. I wore a tailored suit, looked every bit the successful CEO. My office overlooked the city, photos of our team and accomplishments on the walls. I'd come a long way from that back row desk. My assistant called. Mrs. Patterson is here for her interview. Mrs. Patterson walked into my office, confident and professional. She was older, gray streaking her dark hair, but still carried that same authoritative presence. She extended her hand with a smile. Hello, I'm Margaret Patterson. Thank you for taking the time to. She stopped mid-sentence, her face going pale. Tyler? I shook her hand firmly. Hello, Mrs. Patterson. Please, have a seat. She sat down slowly, clearly shocked. Her eyes moved around my office, taking in the certificates, awards, photos of team events, the view. I could see her mind racing, trying to reconcile the struggling student she dismissed with the CEO sitting across from her. I had no idea you were the Tyler Martinez, she stammered. The owner of Martinez Solutions. Surprise, I said neutrally. So, you're interested in our corporate training position? She nodded, still processing. Yes. I'm leaving teaching after 28 years. I want to transition into corporate training and development. When I saw your company was hiring, it seemed perfect. Why are you leaving teaching? I asked, genuinely curious. She sighed. Honestly? Burnout. Low pay. The education system has changed. It's not fulfilling anymore. I understood that. Teaching was exhausting and undervalued. But I also remembered how she treated me, dismissively, cruelly even. Had she treated other struggling students the same way? Tell me about your teaching philosophy, I said, watching her carefully. Mrs. Patterson straightened up, falling into familiar territory. I believe in high standards and honest feedback. Students need to understand their limitations so they can set realistic goals. There it was. The same philosophy that had crushed me. Setting realistic goals based on perceived limitations. Interesting, I said. At Martinez Solutions, we believe in identifying strengths and building on them rather than focusing on limitations. We hire people others overlook because traditional measures don't capture real potential. She nodded eagerly. That's wonderful. Very progressive. I notice in your resume you've been teaching English for 28 years. In that time, can you share examples of students who struggled academically but succeeded later in life? She hesitated. Well, I'm sure there are some. Though honestly, students who struggle usually continue struggling. That's just reality. Is it? I leaned forward. Mrs. Patterson, do you remember me from your 9th grade English class? 13 years ago? Her face flushed slightly. I taught hundreds of students, Tyler. I'm sorry, I don't specifically recall. You told me I'd never succeed. That people like me don't become entrepreneurs. That I should focus on realistic goals because I lack the discipline and intelligence for real success. I kept my voice calm, stating facts without emotion. The color drained from her face completely. Tyler, if I said that, I'm sorry. I'm sure I didn't mean. You meant it, I interrupted gently. And you were wrong. Silence filled the office. Mrs. Patterson looked down at her hands, unable to meet my eyes. I let the silence stretch, giving her time to feel the weight of this moment. Finally, she looked up, tears forming. I don't remember that specific conversation, but I don't doubt it happened. I was frustrated with my career. With students who didn't seem to care. I said terrible things to many students over the years. It was unprofessional and cruel. Her admission surprised me. I'd expected defensiveness, excuses. Not this raw honesty. Why should I hire you? I asked. Why should I bring someone onto my team who told struggling people they couldn't succeed? She wiped her eyes. You shouldn't. I wouldn't blame you for ending this interview right now and never calling me back. But Tyler, I need you to know, seeing your success, reading about your company, it's forced me to confront my own failures as a teacher. She took a shaky breath. I was burned out and bitter. I took it out on students who reminded me of my own limitations. You were ambitious and dreamed big, which threatened me because I'd stopped dreaming. I was wrong. About you and probably about countless others. I studied her carefully. This felt genuine. Not manipulation or job interview performance. Real regret. People can change, Mrs. Patterson. But how do I know you have? You don't, she admitted. All I can say is that I'm trying. And if you give me a chance, I'll prove it. The interview continued for another hour. I asked tough questions about her teaching methods, her approach to struggling students, how she'd handle employee development. Her answers were thoughtful, showing real reflection about her past mistakes. When we finished, I stood up. Thank you for coming in. We'll be in touch. She stood too, gathering her things. At the door, she paused. Tyler, regardless of whether you hire me, I want you to know, I'm genuinely sorry. What I said to you was wrong. You've built something remarkable, and you did it despite people like me telling you that you couldn't. That takes incredible strength. After she left, I sat in my office for a long time, thinking. Jake came in eventually. How did it go? Complicated, I admitted. She apologized. Seemed genuine. Are you going to hire her? I didn't know. Part of me wanted to reject her application, let her feel the same dismissal she'd made me feel. But another part remembered Mom's wisdom about not letting bitterness poison me. That night, I talked to Mom about it. She listened carefully, then said, What does your gut tell you, Mijo? That everyone deserves a second chance if they've truly changed. She smiled. Then you know what to do. I spent the weekend reviewing all candidates for the training position. Mrs. Patterson was qualified. Her teaching experience was valuable. Her self-awareness about past mistakes was actually an asset. She understood how not to treat people. Monday morning, I called Mrs. Patterson. This is Tyler Martinez. Do you have a moment to talk? Of course, she said, voice tight with nerves. I'm calling to offer you the corporate training position at Martinez Solutions. Pending background check and references, we'd like you to start in 2 weeks. Silence. Then a shaky breath. Tyler, thank you. I won't let you down. I'm counting on that. But Mrs. Patterson, I need to be clear about something. I'm hiring you because you're qualified and because I believe people can change. But this company's culture is built on lifting people up, not tearing them down. Our training programs will focus on identifying and developing strengths in every employee. Can you commit to that approach? Absolutely. That's exactly the kind of educator I want to become. Good. Welcome to Martinez Solutions. When I hung up, Jake appeared at my door. Did you really just hire her? I did. Man, you're a better person than me. I'd have told her where to go. Maybe. But holding on to anger would only hurt me. This way, I could transform a painful memory into something productive. If Mrs. Patterson truly had changed, she could help other employees grow. If she hadn't, well, I'd deal with that when it happened. Her first day arrived. I gathered the team for introductions. Everyone, meet Margaret Patterson, our new Director of Training and Development. She'll be creating programs to help each of you develop your skills and advance your careers. Mrs. Patterson's first weeks were probationary in my mind. I watched carefully how she interacted with employees, especially younger ones or those who struggled with certain tasks. She was different. Patient where she'd once been harsh. Encouraging where she'd once been dismissive. She spent time understanding each person's learning style and adapting her approach accordingly. One day, I overheard her working with Marcus, a young developer who struggled with presentations. He'd been anxious about an upcoming client pitch. "Marcus, let me tell you something," Mrs. Patterson said gently. "I used to think there was only one way to be successful, the traditional way. Confident public speaking, polished presentations, following standard formats. But I've learned that's wrong. Some of the most successful people succeed precisely because they do things differently." She helped him create a presentation that played to his strengths, detailed technical documentation and hands-on demonstrations rather than flashy slides and speeches. The client loved it. Afterward, Marcus told me, "Mrs. Patterson really gets me. She didn't try to make me into something I'm not. She helped me succeed as myself." That's when I knew hiring her had been the right choice. She'd genuinely changed. The bitter, dismissive teacher had become a supportive mentor who'd learned from her mistakes. 3 months in, she requested a meeting with me. Mrs. Patterson came to my office looking nervous. "Tyler, I wanted to talk to you about something personal." "Okay. What's on your mind?" She took a deep breath. "Working here has been transformative. Seeing how you've built this company, how you treat people, how you create opportunities for those others overlook, it's shown me everything I did wrong as a teacher." I waited, letting her continue. "I've been thinking about all the students I dismissed over the years. Students who struggled but had potential I refused to see. I was part of a system that measured people by narrow standards and discarded those who didn't fit. And I feel sick about it." Tears filled her eyes. "I can't change the past. I can't undo the damage I did to you and countless others. But I want to do something meaningful now. I want to create a program." "What kind of program?" I asked. "A mentorship program for struggling students. Partnering with local schools to identify kids who are falling through the cracks, not because they lack potential, but because traditional education fails them. Kids like you were. We could offer mentorship, internships, maybe even scholarships eventually." I leaned back, considering. We'd been discussing corporate social responsibility initiatives. This could be perfect. "That's actually a great idea," I said. "Let's develop a proposal." Over the next months, Mrs. Patterson and I worked together developing the Potential Unlocked program. We partnered with 3 local high schools to identify students who struggled academically but showed promise in other areas: creativity, leadership, problem-solving, entrepreneurship. We offered mentorship from Martinez Solutions employees, summer internships, workshops on practical business skills, and guidance that traditional education didn't provide. We specifically targeted students from low-income backgrounds who faced the same obstacles I had. The program launched with 20 students. Mrs. Patterson led it personally, bringing genuine passion and commitment. Watching her work with these kids, patient, encouraging, believing in them, was remarkable. She'd transformed completely. One student, a 15-year-old named Deshaun, struggled with severe dyslexia like I had. Teachers had written him off as lazy. Mrs. Patterson worked with him one-on-one, helping him develop coping strategies and discovering his talent for visual design. "Mrs. P believes in me," Deshaun told me during a visit to our office. "She says struggling in school doesn't mean you're stupid. Just means school's measuring the wrong things." Mrs. P. The kids had nicknamed her. She'd become their advocate, their champion. The exact opposite of who she'd been to me. During a program celebration, Mrs. Patterson pulled me aside. "Thank you, Tyler. For giving me this chance. For letting me become the educator I should have been all along." Martinez Solutions continued growing. We expanded to multiple cities, hired 75 employees, and hit $10 million in annual revenue. The Potential Unlocked program became our flagship social initiative, earning recognition and awards. Media coverage increased. National business magazines featured our company culture and social programs. I was invited to speak at conferences across the country about building successful businesses while maintaining social responsibility. During one speaking engagement, I shared the full story: Mrs. Patterson's dismissal, her job application, the decision to hire her, and our collaboration on Potential Unlocked. The audience was silent, then erupted in applause. Afterward, several people approached me with similar stories. Teachers or authority figures who'd dismissed them, predictions of failure they'd proven wrong. But many also expressed admiration for giving Mrs. Patterson a second chance. "You could have destroyed her," one woman said. "Instead, you redeemed her." That's powerful. I hadn't thought of it that way. I just tried to do the right thing. But maybe redemption was exactly what had happened, for both of us. Mrs. Patterson attended that speaking engagement. Afterward, she hugged me tight. "Thank you for telling our story. For being honest about my mistakes but also showing that people can change. I hope other teachers hear this and examine their own biases before they damage more students." That was the real goal: systemic change, not personal revenge. On the 10-year anniversary of Martinez Solutions, we threw a huge celebration. Employees, clients, community partners, and program students all attended. The event was at a beautiful venue downtown, far from that small room above the coffee shop where we'd started. I gave a speech reflecting on the journey. I talked about struggling in school, being told I'd never succeed, proving doubters wrong through hard work and determination. I talked about the importance of second chances and believing in people others dismiss. 10 years ago, I was working in a corner store, taking community college classes at night, and running a tiny side business. People thought I was crazy. Some told me directly I'd fail. I paused, looking at Mrs. Patterson in the audience. One person specifically told me I lacked the discipline and intelligence for real success. The room went quiet. Mrs. Patterson stood up slowly. That person was my 9th grade English teacher, Mrs. Margaret Patterson. She's here tonight, and I want to say something to her publicly. Mrs. Patterson's eyes filled with tears as I continued. "Mrs. Patterson, you were wrong about me. But more importantly, you've acknowledged that and worked to become better. You're now our director of training, and you've helped dozens of struggling students discover their potential through our Potential Unlocked program. You've transformed from someone who crushed dreams into someone who nurtures them." I raised my glass. To second chances and the courage to change. The celebration lasted late into the night. Employees shared stories about their growth at Martinez Solutions. Program students talked about discovering confidence and direction. Mrs. Patterson gave an emotional speech about her own journey. "I was a failed teacher," she said, voice shaking. "I failed because I forgot that teaching isn't about judging potential, it's about nurturing it. I dismissed students who didn't fit my narrow definition of success. Tyler was one of many." She looked directly at me. But Tyler did something remarkable. He succeeded despite me, then gave me an opportunity to become better. To actually help students instead of harm them. Working here, leading Potential Unlocked, has been more fulfilling than my entire teaching career. Because now I'm doing it right. She paused, wiping tears. To any educators here tonight, or those watching this online later, please, don't be who I was. See the potential in every student, especially those who struggle. You never know who will build the company you'll someday want to work for. The room erupted in applause. Later, Mom found me standing alone on the balcony, looking at the city lights. "Proud of you, Mijo," she said, linking her arm through mine. "We did it, Mom. Everything they said was impossible." "No, baby. You did it. You took pain and turned it into purpose. That's real strength." I thought about 14-year-old me sitting in that classroom, crushed by Mrs. Patterson's words. If I could talk to that kid, I'd tell him, the people who doubt you don't determine your future. Only you do. Today, Martinez Solutions employs over 100 people across 5 cities. Our annual revenue exceeds $20 million. We're considered leaders in digital marketing for hospitality businesses. But the numbers aren't what matter most. What matters is the culture we've built, one that values potential over credentials, growth over perfection, and second chances over grudges. We've helped hundreds of small businesses succeed. Our Potential Unlocked program has served over 200 struggling students, many now thriving in careers they once thought impossible. Mrs. Patterson is still our director of training. She's been with us for 7 years now, and her programs are nationally recognized. She speaks at education conferences about rethinking how we measure and develop potential. Former students often reach out to tell her she changed their lives, a redemption she never expected. Last week, she knocked on my office door. "Tyler, I wanted to show you something." She handed me a letter from Deshaun, the student with dyslexia. He'd just been accepted to a design school with a full scholarship. He wrote, "Thank you for seeing what my teachers missed," Mrs. Patterson read, voice trembling. "This is what teaching should feel like. This is what I missed for so many years." I smiled. "You're making up for it now. Because you gave me the chance." We stood there quietly, 2 people whose painful intersection had somehow transformed into something meaningful. The teacher who'd crushed me was now nurturing others. The struggling student she dismissed was now her employer and, surprisingly, her friend. Success isn't just about proving doubters wrong. It's about transforming pain into purpose, bitterness into building, and grudges into grace. Mrs. Patterson said I'd never succeed. She was wrong. But in being wrong, and admitting it, she discovered her own path to redemption. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building something so meaningful that even your harshest critic wants to be part of it. And then, this is the hard part, letting them in. My phone buzzed with a notification. Another student from the Potential Unlocked program had been accepted to college. The 37th one this year. Each acceptance felt like another crack in the system that had tried to limit me, tried to limit all of us. I looked out my office window at the city below. Somewhere out there was another kid sitting in a classroom, being told they'd never succeed. Being measured by standards that didn't fit them. Being dismissed by someone who couldn't see their potential. I couldn't reach them all. But I could reach some. And those some would reach others. That's how real change happens, not through anger or revenge, but through building something better and inviting others to be part of it. Mrs. Patterson appeared at my door again. "Tyler, we just got confirmation. The school district wants to expand Potential Unlocked to 10 more schools next year. They're even providing funding." I grinned. "That's incredible. How many students can we serve?" "At least 500. Maybe more." She paused, emotion crossing her face. 500 kids who might have been dismissed like you were. 500 chances to do it right. "Then let's do it right," I said. "Let's make sure no kid ever feels like I felt in your classroom that day." She nodded, tears forming again. "That's exactly what we'll do." After she left, I pulled out an old notebook from my desk drawer. The one I'd used in 9th grade, full of terrible spelling and grammar but big dreams. I flipped to a page where I'd written after that conversation with Mrs. Patterson, "She says I can't succeed. I'll prove her wrong." Mission accomplished. But the journey had taught me something more important than proving anyone wrong. It taught me that success means nothing if you don't use it to lift others. That holding grudges weighs you down more than the person you're angry at. That people can change if given the chance and the right environment. I'd built Martinez Solutions not just as a business, but as proof that the kids who get dismissed, the students who struggle, the people who don't fit traditional molds, were not broken. The system measuring us is broken. And now, with Mrs. Patterson's help, we were building a new system. One that looked for potential in unexpected places. One that nurtured instead of crushed. One that said you can instead of you can't. My assistant knocked. "Your 3 o'clock is here." The reporter from Forbes. "Right." Another interview about the company's success and our social programs. I'd tell the story again, the struggling student, the dismissive teacher, the unlikely redemption arc. People loved it because it was authentic and hopeful. But more than that, people loved it because they saw themselves in it. We've all been underestimated. We've all heard you can't. We've all wondered if the doubters were right. This story proved they weren't. I grabbed my notebook, I always brought it to interviews now, a tangible reminder of where I'd started, and headed to the conference room. Mrs. Patterson was there too. We'd been doing interviews together lately, both perspectives telling the complete story. The reporter set up her recording equipment. "I'm so excited to hear this story directly from both of you. The teacher who said you'd never succeed, now working for you. It's incredible." Mrs. Patterson and I exchanged a glance. We'd told this story many times, but it never got old. Because every time we told it, someone out there heard it and decided to keep going. To keep trying. To prove their own doubters wrong. "It's not really about me succeeding despite her," I started, settling into my chair. "It's about all of us succeeding despite systems that try to limit us based on narrow definitions of potential." Mrs. Patterson represents that system. But she also represents hope, because if she can change, the system can change. Mrs. Patterson nodded. "I spent 28 years being part of the problem. Now I'm trying to spend however many years I have left being part of the solution. Tyler gave me that chance, and together we're giving it to hundreds of others." The reporter leaned forward, engaged. "So what's next for Martinez Solutions and Potential Unlocked?" I smiled, thinking about the plans we'd been developing. The expansion to 20 cities. The partnership with a national foundation. The scholarship fund we were launching. The documentary a filmmaker wanted to make about the program. "We're just getting started," I said. "Every struggling student we help becomes proof that traditional measures don't capture real potential. Every success story challenges the system to do better. We're not just building a company. We're building a movement." Mrs. Patterson added, "And I'm grateful to be part of it. Grateful Tyler saw past my failures to what I could become. That's what we're doing for these students, seeing past their struggles to what they can become." The interview continued for another hour. Afterward, as the reporter packed up, she said something that stuck with me. "This story gives me hope. My daughter struggles in school, and teachers keep telling her she's not college material. But she's brilliant in so many other ways. Your story shows there are different paths to success." I pulled out a business card. "Have her apply to Potential Unlocked. Or if she's too old, send her my email. I'm always willing to mentor students who remind me of myself." She took the card, eyes bright with tears. "Thank you. Really. You're changing lives." Maybe I was. Or maybe I was just proving what I'd always suspected, that potential exists everywhere, in everyone. We just need to look for it with better eyes. That evening, I stayed late at the office, reviewing applications for the expanded Potential Unlocked program. Each application represented another kid who'd been told they weren't good enough. Another dreamer told to be realistic. Another fighter the system was trying to knock down. Mrs. Patterson knocked on my open door. "Still here?" "Reading applications. There are so many deserving kids." She sat down across from me. "Tyler, can I ask you something personal?" "Sure." "Do you ever regret giving me a second chance? Does part of you wish you'd turned me away, made me face consequences for what I said to you?" I thought carefully. Honesty mattered between us. Sometimes, in the beginning, I wondered if I was being too forgiving. If letting go of that anger meant you won somehow. But no, I don't regret it. Because this, I gestured around the office, at the applications, at everything we'd built, this wouldn't exist without both of our journeys. Your transformation is part of what makes Potential Unlocked powerful. She nodded slowly. "Thank you. For seeing potential in me when I refused to see it in you and others. That's the greatest irony, you applied to me the very grace I'd denied you. Everyone deserves a chance to grow, Mrs. Patterson. Even teachers who make terrible mistakes. Call me Margaret, she said softly. I think after 7 years and everything we've built together, we can use first names. Okay, Margaret. I smiled. Let's review these applications together. Help me choose who gets into the next cohort. We spent the next 2 hours reading stories of struggling students, kids with dyslexia, ADHD, family responsibilities, poverty, learning differences, all the obstacles that made traditional education difficult. Each one reminded me of 14-year-old me. We selected 50 for the next program. 50 more chances to prove that potential can't be measured by grades alone. Walking to the parking lot later, Margaret paused by her car. Tyler, I know I've said this before, but I need to say it again. I'm sorry. For what I said to you. For not seeing who you were and who you could become. For being part of a system that crushes dreamers. I'm sorry. I know, I said. And I forgive you. Every single day, I forgive you. Because holding on to that pain would have stopped me from building all this. She hugged me, a real hug, not a professional one. Thank you. For everything. Driving home, I thought about the full circle we'd traveled. The teacher who dismissed me was now my employee, my partner in social impact, and surprisingly, my friend. The boy who'd been told he'd never succeed was now running a multi-million-dollar company and helping hundreds of others succeed. Life is strange that way. The people who hurt us can become catalysts for our greatest growth. The pain that nearly destroys us can become the fuel that drives us. The moments we think will define our limitations can instead reveal our strength. Mrs. Patterson, Margaret, said I'd never succeed. She was spectacularly wrong. But in her wrongness, in her eventual recognition of it, she'd helped create something more powerful than my individual success. She'd helped create a movement, a program, a proof that everyone deserves to be seen for their potential, not their struggles. And that, I realized, was the real victory. Not proving her wrong. Not making her ask me for a job. But transforming that painful moment into something that helped others avoid the same pain. Success isn't measured in revenue or employees or awards. It's measured in lives changed, potential unlocked, dreams nurtured instead of crushed. By that measure, we'd succeeded beyond anything I could have imagined sitting in that back row desk, holding my bleeding essay, hearing that I'd never amount to anything. The teacher who said I'd never succeed now worked for me. But more importantly, together we were making sure no other kid would hear what I'd heard and believe it. That was the real ending to this story. Not revenge, but redemption. Not bitterness, but building. Not proving anyone wrong, but proving everyone's potential right. And we were just getting started.